I'm stumped about what's going on with Diane. She's been acting strange around me lately, not her usual self. When you've been hitched for 22 years, you pick up on these things, like a shift in the air. It could be some offhand remark she drops or just the way her eyes avoid mine. For a few months now, she's been distant, and it's nagging at me. Is she hiding some health issue she's too scared to share? Whenever I ask if something's wrong, she brushes me off, saying, "What's with you?" I'm fine. Stop pestering me about it, for Pete's sake. I started wondering if she's seeing someone else, but that doesn't seem like Diane, not after 22 years of building a life together. We've got 3 kids, though they're not little anymore. Chloe's 21, married, and raising her own kid now. Mason's in his 2nd year of college, and Natalie's about to graduate high school and head off to college too. I thought maybe Diane's going through menopause. You hear about how that can shake things up. It was really weighing on me, messing with my head. I began keeping a closer eye on her, looking for any clue something was off. I just prayed I wasn't imagining things, letting my mind spiral out of control. It's tough to put into words, I'm no poet, so finding the right way to say it is a struggle. All I can say is I had this sinking feeling in my gut, like a knot telling me something's wrong. Our love life hasn't changed much in the last 15 years or so. We still get intimate, call it what you want, and it's been fine, nothing to complain about. Sure, it's not like the early days when we couldn't keep our hands off each other, going at it like newlyweds. But that's just how life goes, right? Everyone we know seems to have a marriage like ours, so I figured we were pretty typical. We get together maybe every couple of months, sometimes more if we're both feeling it, maybe once a week for a stretch. Are we still in love? I always thought so, deep down. It's not like we sit around gushing about it all the time. In my heart, I believed we still had something special, a quiet kind of care for each other. We're not some fairy tale couple out of a movie, we're just regular folks living real life. We both punch the clock, pay the bills, and cherish our time with the family, your average, everyday people. I noticed she wasn't dressing any differently for work, nothing flashy or out of character. Even when she went out with her work friends, her style stayed the same, no red flags. One day, she went shopping with Stephanie, a coworker of hers. I felt uneasy about it, but I followed them anyway, keeping my distance so they wouldn't spot me. They hopped from store to store, looking like 2 friends having a normal day out, so I headed home, wondering if I was just being paranoid. Over the next few weeks, I got nosier, eavesdropping on her phone calls, peeking at her emails, and watching her every move. She still seemed off, but I couldn't pinpoint anything major. We were intimate a bit more often, but it wasn't anything wild or unusual. I started feeling guilty for spying on her like that, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was up. One Saturday, I headed out for my usual golf game with the guys, just like most weekends. But when we got to the course, it was packed tight with tournaments, no room for us. My buddies wanted to check out other courses, but I decided to call it a day and go home. I thought maybe I'd make it up to Diane with a nice dinner, especially since I'd been so suspicious lately. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw a car that looked like Stephanie's, though I wasn't certain, cars all blend together these days. As I stepped through the front door, I heard moans coming from inside. A cold dread hit me as I walked toward the bedroom. There, on our bed, was Diane, stark naked, with Stephanie's face pressed close in a way that made my heart stop. I couldn't hold it together and yelled, "What in the world is happening here?" as I stared at the stunned expressions on both women's faces. Diane's head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock, and she shrieked, "Oh my Lord, Mike! Oh my Lord," over and over, like a broken record. Stephanie scrambled to her feet, didn't utter a single word, threw on some clothes in a hurry, and bolted out the door. I stood frozen for a moment, just gaping at my wife of 22 years, my mind blank on what to say next. Tears streamed down her face as she stood, wrapping herself in her bathrobe, her voice trembling. "Mike, I'm begging you, let me explain what happened," she pleaded softly. I was rooted to the spot, completely floored by what I'd seen. I locked eyes with her and said, "You betrayed me with another woman, Diane, and now you're asking to explain. You say it just happened, that it wasn't love, just some physical fling, something new. You're telling me that doesn't count as cheating?" I shook my head in disbelief. "What are you even saying? You think because it was a woman, it's not betrayal? The fact that she's not a man doesn't change a thing. You took the trust I've always had in you and tossed it out the window. I thought we had mutual respect, but it seems yours for me was paper thin. Mike, please, we've got to talk this through," she begged, her voice cracking with desperation. "How long has this been going on behind my back, Diane? Let me take a wild guess, 4 months." Her tears started flowing harder, and she choked out, "I was going to tell you, Mike, I swear. I planned to put an end to it." 4 months, Diane. I shot back, my voice thick with hurt. "You've been sneaking around with Stephanie for months, and saying you were going to tell me doesn't fix anything. We've got a family, kids, a life together. I thought we had real love. Turns out, I was the only one holding up that end of the bargain." "Mike, it wasn't supposed to happen," she stammered, "it just, one day, Stephanie and I cut her off, my stomach churning. I can't even look at you right now, Diane. I'm too sickened by this. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do next. I'm heading out to clear my head. If it had been a guy, at least I could have faced him, maybe thrown a punch. But you, for some twisted reason, think fooling around with a woman is no big deal. I'll be back in a couple of hours, if I come back at all. Mike, please, you need to hear me out." Her voice trailed after me as I stormed out and slid into my car. I'm not much of a drinker, but coffee wasn't going to cut it for this. I drove to a local club I'm part of, hoping to sort through the chaos in my head. Man, I was reeling. How could she do this to us? What's my next move? I knew I'd have to hear her out eventually, but deep down, I felt nothing she said could undo the damage. About 3 hours later, I pulled back into the driveway. Diane was dressed in her usual clothes, a pot of coffee brewing in the kitchen. She asked if we could sit in the living room so she could lay out exactly what happened. Inside, I was boiling with anger, unsure if I could even stomach her explanation, but I nodded anyway. I plopped down on the couch, and she started to sit beside me. "No, take the chair," I said sharply. "Right now, I can't stand being near you." Her eyes were red, a few tears still falling. I looked at her and said, "You know, I used to hate seeing you cry, always wanted to make it better. But today, your tears don't mean a thing to me. You've hurt me in a way I never thought possible, and I'm not sure I'll ever get past it." She took a shaky breath and started talking. "Mike, it all started one day when Stephanie and I went shopping. We came back with some new outfits and were trying them on at her place. She kept saying how good I looked, flattering my figure. We grabbed some wine, and I guess it loosened me up more than I realized. While we were changing, Stephanie reached out and touched my chest. She commented on how firm and perky they looked, not sagging a bit," Diane went on. "I don't know what came over me, Mike, but I didn't stop her when she touched them. Then she kept going, exploring more. I hate to admit it, but it felt thrilling, so different from being with you." I clenched my jaw, stung. "So, what, I'm a lousy lover now? Stephanie's the answer to all your dreams, way better than your boring old husband." "No, Mike, that's not what I meant," she said, her voice pleading. "It's just, a woman's touch is something else entirely, unique in its own way. Didn't it cross your mind that you were betraying me, Diane?" I pressed, my voice sharp. "Did I even pop into your head at all?" She looked down, fumbling for words. "Mike, I didn't see it as cheating. Stephanie kept saying guys get a kick out of seeing 2 women together. She told me her husband, Brian, is totally fine with it, that she's been with other women for years." I stared at her, incredulous. Are you even listening to yourself, Diane? You're saying hooking up with another woman isn't cheating. In fact, you think I'd be into it? I saw you too, and it turned my stomach. My wife, stepping out on me with another woman, doing things you'd never let me do. Let me flip this around. If you walked in and caught me with another guy touching me in ways he shouldn't, would that get you excited? Would it, Diane? Would that be cheating or not? You're trying to sell me on the idea that you being with someone else is supposed to be a thrill. Well, newsflash, it made me sick to my core, and I don't know if I can ever get over this. She hesitated, her face crumpling. Mike, I don't know how to answer that. No, it wouldn't turn me on if you were with another man. I'd lose all respect for you, she admitted quietly. Exactly, Diane, I shot back, my voice heavy with hurt. You lost my respect when you stabbed me in the back with Stephanie. I can't even stand the thought of touching you right now. All the respect I had for you is gone. Love isn't just about the physical stuff, it's built on honesty, care, trust, loyalty, and respect. You've thrown all of that out the window. I'm at a loss for what to do next. I'm moving into the spare room tonight. I can't share a bed with you anymore. Her eyes widened, tears spilling over. Mike, you're not serious. This isn't worth ending 22 years of marriage over, is it? I wasn't trying to cheat with a man, that's why I thought trying something with Stephanie was different, just experimenting. I shook my head, bitterness creeping in. It starts with Stephanie, Diane. You've gotten a taste of this new life, and it won't stop here. If you could betray me with her, it's only a matter of time before it's someone else. You're diving headfirst into this new version of yourself. I'm done. I'll start looking for an apartment. Just leave me alone and stay out of my way. You can figure out how to explain your new outlook to the kids, they'll probably be real curious to hear how you think same-sex affairs don't count as cheating. She wiped her eyes, her voice shaky. Okay, Mike, maybe it was cheating in a way, but I didn't see it like that. You're blowing this out of proportion. It's not like Stephanie and I were at it constantly, just every couple of weeks or so. I was just exploring something new. Can't you try to see where I'm coming from? I let out a hollow laugh. I almost pity you, Diane. 22 years with me means less to you than sneaking around like this. I'm done talking. I stood up and walked out of the room, leaving her sitting there. That night, in the spare bedroom, sleep wouldn't come. My mind was stuck on a loop, replaying one thing she said. Stephanie kept saying guys love seeing two women together. She said her husband doesn't mind at all. Brian, Stephanie's husband, knew about this. If he was in on it, what else was going on behind the scenes? I'd been so caught up in Diane's betrayal that I hadn't stopped to think about the bigger picture. The next morning, I called in sick to work and waited until Diane left for her job. Once the house was empty, I headed to our home office and fired up her laptop. Her password? Our anniversary date, way too easy to guess that it didn't take long to find what I was after. Text messages between Diane and Stephanie popped up almost instantly. As I read through them, a chill ran through me, like ice in my veins. Brian's itching to watch again this Friday, one message read. Mike's got golf, same as usual. I'm pumped to try Brian's new idea. You sure Mike won't be back before 4? Brian says he's joining in this time. I'm kinda nervous but totally excited. They'd been scheming for months, and Brian wasn't just some bystander, he was biding his time to get involved. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever could have imagined, a knife twisting in my gut. If I hadn't come home early that day, who knows how far this would have gone. I snapped pictures of every damning message with my phone, then made sure to leave the laptop exactly as I found it, covering my tracks. That afternoon, I swung by to see George, my lawyer, and showed him what I'd uncovered. Mike, this is more than enough for a divorce case, George said, eyeing the evidence. But what's your next step here? I leaned forward, my voice steady. I'm playing the long game, George. I want every dime and right I'm owed, sure, but more than that, I want them to feel the same pain that's tearing me up inside. George gave a slow nod, processing my words. We can start the paperwork right away, but you should know Michigan's a no-fault state. Her cheating won't sway the asset split much. This isn't just about the divorce, I told him, a plan forming in my mind. I've got something bigger cooking. For the next 2 weeks, I put on an act, letting Diane think I was barely keeping it together, a broken man. I stayed in the spare room, telling her I just needed time to sort through my feelings. But behind the scenes, I was pulling strings. First, I hired a private investigator to dig into Stephanie and Brian's world. Turns out, they were running a whole operation, multiple affairs, all planned out, all recorded without anyone's consent. The PI uncovered proof that Brian was peddling access to a secret website, a members-only deal showcasing videos of their encounters. Second, I brought in an IT guy who pulled data from our home router, showing unknown devices had tapped into our network when Stephanie was over, devices that matched the MAC addresses of cameras the PI had traced. Third, I quietly shifted half our joint savings into a new account under my name only, a move George assured me was perfectly legal before any divorce papers were filed. Fourth, I reached out to HR at Diane and Stephanie's company, playing it cool. I didn't spill the beans about the affair but asked hypothetical questions about their rules on workplace romances and filming on company grounds. Just as I figured, both were big no-nos, strictly forbidden. Finally, I sat down with each of our kids one-on-one. I didn't want to turn them against their mom, but they deserved to know the truth before Diane could feed them her version. Over lunch, Chloe looked confused. Dad, what's going on? Mom says you guys are just hitting a rough spot. I took a deep breath. Chloe, I love you, and I've always shielded you from the ugly stuff, but your mom's been unfaithful. This isn't a one-time slip-up, it's been going on for months, and there's more to it I can't get into. I've got proof, and I'm filing for divorce. I needed you to hear it straight from me. Mason and Natalie handled it as best they could, shaken but not pressing for details, which was a relief. 3 weeks after catching Diane in the act, I was ready to make my move. It was a Friday night, and Diane was supposedly at a work event, but my PI confirmed she was at Stephanie and Brian's place. Phone in hand, I was set to fire the opening shot. At exactly 8:30 p.m., I hit send on emails to Diane, Stephanie, and Brian. I know it all, I wrote, the affairs, the secret recordings, the website. I've got evidence of everything. You've not only shattered our marriage but possibly broken state laws by filming private moments without consent. I've already tipped off your employers about your inappropriate behavior at work, my email continued. Come Monday, divorce papers will be on their way. There's no room for negotiation. To each email, I attached one screenshot, just enough to show I had the goods and wasn't messing around. My phone lit up almost instantly with calls and texts from Diane, buzzing like crazy. I didn't pick up or respond to a single one. Instead, I fired off one last text, I'll swing by the house at 10 p.m. to grab some stuff. Make sure you're not there. When I pulled into the driveway at 10, Diane was still there, her face blotchy with tear stains. Mike, please, you've got it all wrong, she begged as I brushed past her, heading straight for the bedroom. No, Diane, I've got it crystal clear, I said, yanking a suitcase from the closet. While you thought I was crumbling these past weeks, I was piecing together every bit of your betrayal. Her voice shook as she stammered, what are you even talking about? The videos, Diane. The website, I said, my tone cold. Did you honestly believe I wouldn't figure it out? Brian's been recording every second of it, selling access to those clips for profit. Her face drained of color, and she whispered, no, that's not true, Stephanie swore, Stephanie fed you lies. Brian's no better. And you? You've been lying to me too. Monday morning, you'll get served with divorce papers. By the afternoon, your boss will have proof of you and Stephanie fooling around on company time and property. I've already sat down with the kids, they know we're done, though I kept the worst of it from them. You can't do this to me, she murmured, barely audible, her eyes wide with panic. It's already done, I shot back, zipping up the suitcase. Oh, and by the way, I've moved half our shared accounts into my name, completely above board until the divorce kicks off. You'd better start hunting for a good lawyer. I headed for the door, suitcase in hand. Mike, hold on, she cried, her voice breaking. What about everything we've built? 22 years of our lives. I turned to face her one final time, my heart heavy but resolute. You should have thought about that before you tossed it all away. Goodbye, Diane. The fallout came fast and hit hard. Diane and Stephanie got slapped with administrative leave while their company investigated, and both ended up fired. Brian, staring down possible criminal charges for filming and sharing intimate videos without consent, scrambled to cut a deal to dodge prosecution. The divorce went off without a hitch. Diane, faced with the mountain of evidence I'd compiled, didn't even try to fight it. I walked away with a solid chunk of our assets, the house, and even a slice of her retirement savings. Brian and Stephanie's marriage imploded under the weight of the scandal, they sold their place and slunk out of state, their names dragged through the mud. For me, the revenge didn't bring much in the way of happiness, but it did give me some closure, a way to close that painful chapter. The kids were rocked at first, naturally, but they came around, starting to see the truth. They kept ties with both me and their mom, though things with Diane were tense, no surprise there. 6 months after the divorce was final, my job offered me a promotion, but it meant moving to Denver. I jumped at the chance, ready for a clean slate in a new city. About a year after settling in Denver, I was chilling at a downtown coffee shop when a woman clumsily knocked into my table, splashing her latte everywhere. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry, she blurted out, scrambling to grab a stack of napkins. No worries at all, I said with a smile, mopping up the mess. Nothing here's ruined. She glanced up, and our eyes locked for a moment that felt longer than it was. Her name was Samantha, a pediatric surgeon working at the nearby children's hospital. We ended up talking for hours that day, and kept the conversation going over many more days that followed. I opened up to her about everything, my whole messy past, Diane's betrayal, the revenge I'd plotted, and the slow road to healing. She listened, not with pity or judgment, but with a quiet understanding, then shared her own tale of a marriage that fell apart when her husband put his career above their life together. We're quite the duo, huh? She said with a warm laugh. Both of us a little banged up but still kicking. That's what counts, I replied, feeling a spark of hope. We're still here, standing tall. 2 years after that coffee shop moment, Samantha and I tied the knot in a quiet mountain ceremony, with my kids there to share in the joy. As we stood there, trading vows, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The real victory wasn't in tearing down Diane's world. It was in finding my way back to happiness, in showing that her actions hadn't shattered me for good. I still catch myself thinking about Diane now and then, wondering if she's found some kind of peace after all the chaos she caused. But those thoughts fade a little more each year, like old photographs losing their color. The past is behind me now, locked away. Samantha, she's my today, my tomorrow. Together, we're crafting a new chapter, one free of deceit or vengeance, but overflowing with fresh starts and second chances. In the end, the long game wasn't about making Diane pay for what she did. It was about taking back my life, rediscovering joy, and building something new. And in that game, I came out on top.